The Judicial Service Commission has advised that President Cyril Ramaphosa suspend the presiding judge in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. The Commission is requesting the Judicial Conduct Tribunal to look into Judge Tshifhiwa Maumela. It has also made the same recommendation in relation to Judge Nomonde Mngqibisa-Thusi from the Gauteng Division of the High Court. This follows the complaints against the two for failing to deliver judgments which, if proven, will constitute gross incompetence or misconduct. All right, for more on this, we're joined now by Mbekezeli Benjamin. He's from the organization Judges Matter. Mr. Benjamin, thank you very much for your time. This is one matter that has been a major headache for the Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo. He leads the judiciary, and judges who do not deliver judgments on time has been the biggest bugbear, isn't it?
Yes, good morning, Xoli, and to the viewers. Yes, the delivery of judgments is a big issue in the judiciary. We heard recently when the Chief Justice was announcing the judiciary annual report that there was a huge criminal backlog, but there's also a large number of judgments that have been reserved for a number of years. And the norms and standards say that a judgment must be delivered within 3 months of the hearing. And the kinds of judgments that Judge Maumela and Judge Mngqibisa-Thusi are accused of not delivering go upwards of 12 months up to 24 months. So it is a serious problem.
What could be the reason? Because the understanding is that they are going to be appearing before the Judicial Conduct Tribunal. What possibly could be the explanation for judgments taking longer than 10 months to deliver?
Well, there are a number of reasons. For example, just in Gauteng alone, we know that there is a huge shortage of judges, and the workload is getting more and more heavier. So the workload is just unbearable, first of all, and we must sympathize with them on that score. But there's other issues. For example, load shedding is a big factor in the delay in delivering of judgments. We also know that some judges don't have researchers that assist them in the work that they need to do. And so that does also cause some delays in delivering judgments, because the judge would spend a lot of time doing the research that they would otherwise give to a researcher who would be assigned to them. So that is some of the problems. However, there is no excuse, though, for a judge to take 24 months or upwards of 10 months to deliver a judgment. That there are mechanisms in place that assist and support judges to deliver the judgments. Yes, they are not ideal and they are not optimal, but it shouldn't take 10 months or more in order to deliver a judgment.
Yeah, but Mbekezeli, let's talk about the seriousness of this issue, because while I take your point that we must sympathize with them in terms of the workload, and you factor in the issue of load shedding, but for the Judicial Service Commission, that's the organization that monitors the work and conduct of judges. If they have gone as far as recommending a suspension of these judges by the president, surely that tells us that the complaints are quite serious.
Yes, there is no doubt about the seriousness of the complaints, right? Like I said, the norms and standards say that a judgment must be delivered within 3 months. So for a judge to take 20 months or 24 months to deliver a judgment is an extreme case that is extremely serious as well, and which is why we're seeing the JSC recommending that it goes on to a tribunal. So there is no doubt about the seriousness of the complaints. And the two judges are actually not the only ones, right? One of the things that the Office of the Chief Justice used to produce is a list of all the judges who have defaulted on delivering judgment. So judges who've taken 3 months or more to deliver judgment, and that list was published regularly. Unfortunately, it's now been more than a year since we've had that list, and so that is another problem. But there are certainly the two judges that have been recommended for suspension now are certainly not the only judges who are defaulting. And so it is a big problem. It is a serious problem. And a judge's primary job is to deliver judgment. So in that respect, I don't want to downplay the seriousness at all.
Let's then talk about, as we conclude this matter, let's talk about the cases that will likely be affected here, where these two judges preside over those cases. So the one that we know of, and quite prominent because of the person here who was murdered, Senzo Meyiwa, that particular case has been running for a very long time, and it was due to resume next month. I think it's actually next week that this case is meant to go back to court. What happens now? Does this mean that a new judge will have to familiarize themselves with this case? Does that mean that we start from scratch, basically?
Before I explain that, let me just explain a little bit about what the process is going forward. So what happens now that the JSC has made a recommendation, the president has to confirm that the two judges will go on suspension, and he will set the date on which that suspension starts. And from that date onwards, both judges cannot take on any new work. So they cannot be assigned any more cases. They will be officially on suspension. However, for the cases that they are already dealing with, including the one you mentioned now, the judge will have to continue, and particularly because in that case, the Senzo Meyiwa case, the judge has already heard witness testimony. They have gone through some of the evidence that has been led in court, and so it would be extremely disruptive and prejudicial for the case to start before a new judge. So for that trial, the judge will continue, but they may not take on any new work from the date of the suspension, which will be confirmed by the president.
Understood, and thank you very much for that explanation. Mbekezeli Benjamin is with the organization Judges Matter. Well,